This is the queen of the NFT, Swan seat on the red corner. And this is Carlos Diaz on the blue corner. Heavyweight champion of the world. Guys, we're not here for nothing, you know. We are here to talk about communities and to talk about NFT, but not bullshit, okay? Swan, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Just a small history before we begin. I will be emotional a bit. I met this girl 2 months ago in Cannes Lions. Okay, Cannes Lions is the best business event worldwide. I just said worldwide. In the same week, you have NFT NYC. And Gary Vaynerchuk and Paris Hilton preferred Cannes Lions rather than NFT NYC. It says something. And this girl was here. She moderated the panel in the Palais des Festivals between Paris and Gary. It says something, isn't it? And we met in Female Quotient, one of the best places in the world for me for safe space for women, because we are talking about women now, not about fucking white male like me, okay? So, I met this girl, she's amazing. Thank you so much, Swan. Thank you so much, NFT Biarritz. Thank you so much, everybody in this area. I just want to present you a little bit. You too, you're amazing. Swan is the queen of NFTs and Clubhouse. She has more than 4 million followers in Clubhouse. When she pushes the live button, she has like thousands of people showing in and talks about NFTs with her, such as huge, as you know. It's super hard to do that. Can you present you a little bit?
Sure. Thanks for having me, and hello, NFT Biarritz. I was in the corporate world my whole life. I was the head of digital marketing for Nike, Revlon, Estee Lauder, so it's a little weird I ended up in Web3. But when I left corporate, as Rémy said, I showed up on Clubhouse, apparently did pretty well on it, and accidentally became a creator. And as you guys know, if you were in that Clubhouse journey about 1.5 years ago, they had a moment of adoption on Clubhouse, so I fell into Web3 because so much of Web3 is about community, it's about marketing, it's about strategy. So I've had the honor of working with Bored Apes and Adidas on their launch for their Twitter Spaces, worked with Edward Snowden and Platon's launch, interviewed Paris Hilton and Mayweather on their launches, worked behind the scenes with Cool Cats, Boss Beauties, BFF. I've been really honored to work in some of these communities, so now I live in Web3 as an educator, advisor, and investor.
You're amazing, thank you so much. And I would like to present also Carlos. Carlos, I have a small story also. I met these guys.
Oh my God.
That's what I said.
I'm worried now.
He knows me too much. I met these guys 20 years ago in Limoges. Limoges! Okay, guys?
The center of the world.
He lives in Silicon Valley now, and he knows that Limoges is the center of the world.
Yeah, of course.
These guys with his brother Manuel and Carlos Diaz, just built Group Reflect at that time. I remembered it was a small web agency, too small, in the Silicon Valley of Limoges, as would say.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
So sorry. And I remember,
that was a long time ago.
And you know why I remember you that time, Carlos, and you didn't met me at that time? Because I worked in a call center just in the same building. And it was a super small building. They were like 10 maybe, and we were 20. We were bigger than them. And now Manuel, his brother, has like Imakina. It's not Group Reflect anymore. And it's like maybe 2,000 or more people around the world, something like that. Work for them.
Yeah.
And Carlos moved to Silicon. Sorry, and I will give you the speak. Sorry, I speak too much. But I would like to present you the best way, you know, and my way. And this guy is amazing. Why? Because he knows everything about Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. And to be honest, he knows much more than me, and it's difficult. I don't want to say I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. But I made my first website in 1994, 4 years before Google, and it's true, and I can show you it. But these guys know much than me, so it sounds crazy. And I love this guy. Thank you, Carlos. Can you present you better?
No, it's great. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be with you guys. I would have loved, to be with you in Biarritz. I love France, you know that, but I had to go back to San Francisco. And actually, right now, I'm not in San Francisco. This is not my room. This is not my apartment. I'm in Dallas, right now. There is a conference here in Dallas, Texas, and I couldn't join you in Biarritz. So yes, I'm very happy to be with you because yeah, you said something very interesting. I started my career in tech. My God, 25 years ago, something like that. I experienced, the Web one was in 90. I started in 95, creating this digital agency that eventually became public in 2006, and became, what we know today, like Imakina, that is a huge digital agency in Europe that we just sold, a few months ago. So we're very happy. Finally, I could make some money with this company. But I experienced, the Web one, with this digital agency, and then after I created Blvck software, that was the first software as a service player in France, and I experienced, the Web two, and I was about to retire. And also an investor. I made 90 investments in 90 amazing startups since 4 or 5 years. And when an entrepreneur becomes an investor, it means that he's close to retire. I was about to retire, and then the Web3 arrived, and I saw and I feel like it's like a tsunami. And I said to my wife, actually, she was very happy to see me retiring. I said to my wife, sorry, I don't think I can retire because there is a new wave, coming up. I've seen this first wave. I've experienced, the second wave, and I cannot retire now. I have to serve, one more time. I think it's going to be my last wave, but I'm very happy to be in this new movement of Web3 crypto. Decentralization is much needed, right now. I think it's a very important trend. We totally fucked up, with Web2. And we have a chance, an opportunity right now to fix, the mess, we did, with Web 2 and go back maybe to Web 1. I don't know what Swan, think about that, but I think it's a big opportunity, and we shouldn't miss, this opportunity because it's very important, not only for business, but also for the society. That we need more freedom. We need more ownership. We need to make, the web more transparent and make people participate, to this economy, because the problem, right now is that everything is very concentrated in a very few companies. And when we are the one, creating this amazing content, and we are not getting anything out of it. So it's time for us, to reclaim ownership and to reclaim the power and get the freedom we deserve. And yes, and I think that's what NFT is about, and not only NFTs, but blockchain, crypto, and everything. I know it's a crypto winter, right now. Everybody, I feel like I created this new startup named Uncut.fm that helps creators, to mint their content as NFTs and build the NFT membership community with their audience. But I feel a little bit like I opened a sex shop in Pakistan, right now, because everybody is looking at me. A few months ago, I was a rock star, everybody was wanting to throw money in my company. And now because of this crypto winter, it looks like, it's a tough moment. But it's going to take time, but it's okay. We're going to make it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Carlos, for this long introduction.
Sorry.
I love you. No, don't worry. Just kidding. Swam, I have a question for you to begin this amazing session about community, about inclusivity, because we want to talk about that, as you know. I'm an ally for that, as you know. So, do you think that, as Carlos said, Web3, the NFTs and the metaverse world can be the mix between the best of Web 1 and the best of Web 2? What do you think about that?
It absolutely has the potential to be. I don't know if we're there now or we'll be there for a while. And it takes stewards and educators to make it better than it was. Because let's face it, right? Web 2 was a bunch of white guys in Silicon Valley, like you said, getting rich. Web 3 is still a bunch of white guys getting rich, right? Crypto's 85% male, NFTs are 95% male, right? Different group of white guys, but still white guys. And that's okay because that's how things spread, right? You tell people who you affiliate with every day what you learn. So it has the potential, with the way it democratizes not only access, but ownership and payment and relationships. We do cut out a lot of the middlemen, so it has the potential. But I don't know if the way we've been running, if all of it is geared towards that. So I do think it takes intention, it has the potential to be, but winters are good for resets, right? Every time we've had an economic winter, great things have come out. 2001, we had the dot-com crash. What came out of that? Google, Amazon. 2008, in the US, we had the mortgage crisis. What came out of that? Uber,
Airbnb, etc.
So winters are good because bear markets are for builders. The people who show up when there's not money to be made in a night are the people who are building. So I commend you guys on your summer holiday to be in a conference room instead of surfing the waves, because these are the builders of the future.
Yeah, for sure, you're right. Just before I talking to Carlos, I have another question for you. We talked about before the bullshit around the word community. Can you talk about it, and to be very provocative, as you said?
Yeah, I mean, I came from the States to do this talk, and I told Rémy, we're not going to spew what everyone keeps screaming at the start of the Twitter spaces. Let's have real talk. Community is important. There's no doubt about it. But I think we sometimes plug that in when we don't have an answer for something. We say it's about community. So thinking back, if you think of, like, there's a casino in this town, right? Have you guys seen a craps table, right? Everyone's putting money on the come and everyone's cheering and everyone's on the same team. And if you're all winning together and making money together, it feels like a community, right? Until someone rolls a 7 and you crap out. That feels like a community, but it may not be. So what I encourage us to do in this time of a bear, as we look at some of the projects and NFTs in our wallet that we're holding, what are the foundations of community? Because sometimes it happens organically, it's magic, but a lot of times if you look at brands like Nike and Revlon, they're built over lots of time. So I define community as 2 main vectors. Commonality of purpose meets frequency of touch. You have to believe in the same thing, but you also have to interact often enough to feel included in the tribe. So let me give you a couple examples. In the US, a few years ago, we had something called the Women's March. Groups formed all over the country, all galvanized around a cause of women's rights. But it happened and then it was gone. So that would be a movement to me, but not an ongoing community. Take a flip example, Instagram, Twitter. How often do we open those every day? 20 times a day? But I'd argue that those are platforms and not communities, because there's sub-communities in there. If you're on Instagram, you could care about travel or food or NFTs, but it's a platform. You don't go to Instagram's Instagram page to see what Instagram thinks that day. That's not a community, that's a platform. So if you want to build community in your project, you have to have enough of what people believe in together beyond winning at the craps table together, but you also have to have intentional intersections and interactions to feel like you belong. And the interesting thing about Web3 that's different than even Web2 communities is it now has to be interactive and participatory. When we own an NFT, we're a little entitled, we're like an angry mob asking when moon, when roadmap, but we're shareholders, right? We're shareholders and community members. So if you go about doing an NFT project that's meant to be community driven, but you don't let the community participate or collaborate, then you just became a broadcast. You might as well put a Super Bowl ad up. So I love community. It is so real. It's like gravity. You can't measure it. You don't know how to define it, but you know it's there. But in times of bear markets, when community feels a little weak, put those 2 practices, and I would argue the third one, of participation, into place. Really be intentional about what are those values, what are the points of intersection, and that's how you get people to come back.
Thank you, Swan. It's amazing, as usual. Carlos, I have a question for you. I know that you're both in NFT Now Top Community Builders of 2022. And I would like to ask you something about that, Carlos. What do you think about that? Why you are in this ranking?
I don't know. I don't know, and to be very honest, I don't give a shit. That so I don't care about rankings and stuff like that. Like Swan said, it's time right now to build. It's I try to focus on working on Cat.fm right now, because it's I think that we need tools. We need infrastructure. To make Web3 global and make people embrace this revolution. I think that one thing that Swan said before that is very important. I think she's right. Community is very important right now. I think we don't have the same definition of community in the US and here in France.
Interesting. Can you talk about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that for US people, community is just a group of people. I mean, it's what it is. They call community a group of people. I got a community here in the US because my daughters are playing soccer, so that's a community. All the parents, all the players, everybody involved into the same activity, doing the same thing. They call that a community. I mean, my neighbors are a community also as well. So we don't have this definition in France. And I think what is very interesting, but American people are very good at building communities and they know how to do that. I think that the best definition of a community is a group of people that are helping each other. That's really what is a community. It's not just a status or something like that. It's really, I think, and we need also to make a big difference in between what is a community and what is a network. A community is by definition open. And your role inside the community is going to depend on the value you bring to this community. A network or a mob, depends how you want to call it, But a network is by definition closed, okay? And it's very difficult to enter, a network. But when you are in, you're not going to get out. And it doesn't really matter, the value you bring inside the network. You're in, Okay, you're part of the Stanford network or the Silicon Valley network. And that's, by the way, the problem of not having women in Silicon Valley or more women represented, in Web3 is because I think that even if Web3 is saying that they are building communities, the reality is that they are building networks. They're not building communities. They're not. So I think we need to be very, to make an effort, to really make sure that we're building communities and not closed networks of people, and be very open, embrace, diversity, make sure that everybody has a place, a role to play inside this community, and and open, our arms, to everybody. And I don't think we are doing a great job, with that, right now. It's too nerdy, right now. The blockchain stuff is too nerdy. I remember, Web 1 was kind of the same. People are telling me, I don't understand this NFT, blockchain, crypto, whatever you are calling, these new terms and stuff like that. It was exactly the same at the beginning of the web, when I was talking about SSL, DNS,
ICP.
Nobody was understanding, that. So I think we need to remember, all the mistakes we did at the beginning of the web and not try to repeat, these mistakes, with Web3. And I think we need to be very careful about the language we're using, the way we're behaving, inside this space. The real question I have, right now is: are we going to be able to move, NFTs from speculation to utility? That's a real question, because we started NFT, with this speculation story that is a very bad one. For me, the blockchain hasn't been invented, to make us richer. Never. I mean, the blockchain was invented to make us, to set us free, to create freedom. That's what the blockchain was invented for. And I think we started, this story of NFTs and blockchain and Web3 the very wrong way. And we need to fix that. And that's very cool, that we are in the winter, because it's some sort of a reset. And it's very important that we reset, this space the right way.
Carlos, I agree with you that we might have started it a little off, right? The financial speculation definitely is quite we caused our own crash, right? In December, I was on Randy Zuckerberg's show, and I was like, we are running too hot. There's 3 to 5, if not more, 10,000 piece generative collections launching every day. There's a few 100,000 people with NFT wallets. So there's not 30,000, 50,000 new wallets launching every day, and there's not enough liquidity. So we caused the crash because supply outweighed demand and, market prices fall. That being said, as much as I wanted to criticize that, and I was a month early on predicting the crash, I think we needed that financial speculation because humans are self-interested. Once we're in a community, we want to help each other, we want to be one with them. But humans, there's very few things that inspire action, right? It's like the most basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so the financial speculation, as much as it caused this crash, which I think was cyclical anyway, we might have needed that to get that adoption layer in. If there wasn't financial upside, no one would be sitting in a clubhouse making ape noises. Right. So maybe we needed that for this phase, and maybe this next phase is about education. It's more use cases outside of collecting speculative art and imagery, and it's actually interweaving it into real life. But as much as we hated that, I think we needed it because there's no way I would have said 80% of those people would have entered.
Yeah, it's interesting about utilities. Carlos and Swan just talk about. I don't want to talk too much about Black Paris, even if my team is here, and thank you so much for being here today. But I want to talk about BFF and Diaz. There is, for me, the two best communities NFTs of the world, and they are all women-led. And let me explain why. I met the BFF team, and I know you're a founder of it. I didn't know that at the time.
Founding member. So there's 2 founders, and then there's 100 founding members that we took on. We give our time, our resources to help the founders.
We need to stop Swan to be everywhere, you know? we need to let some people win some money and do some good stuff, you know?
No, let women, be everywhere.
No,
that's very important.
She's amazing, of course. Thank you, Carlos, for that. Yeah, BFF was amazing because
you have enough white male nerd, from Stanford.
You know that I already said that at the beginning. Can I continue? Can you stop that shit? Thank you so much. I love you. By the way, no, the thing is, BFF was super interesting because this community is very different than a lot of other communities. I remember the first time I saw the website, I said, "Wow." It's woman-led, firstly, I loved it, because I came from a very bad social thing. I was in the suburb of Lyon, if you know that, Vaux-en-Velin. It's one of the worst places ever existed. And I remember that every night I have some cars burned, you know what I mean? So I can understand what women, what black people, what a lot of people feels when they have troubles, you know? So I understand that, and I remember the first time I see the website, I say, "Oh, this is inclusive." There is a lot of stars behind: Gwyneth Paltrow, Paris Hilton, etc. Like more than 100 very well-known women. And I say, "Yeah, let me see the Discord." And I remember the first time I came to the Discord, I never saw a Discord like this, because it's not male, so it's different, definitely different. They're not talking about money, never. They're never talking about floor prices. Are you fucking serious? They're just talking about utilities, as Carlos said. You buy a bracelet, a BFF bracelet, an NFT. You can access the community. And afterwards, you own a U by BFF. I own an amazing black woman. I'm an amazing black woman in the metaverse right now. And mine is more rarer than the Paris Hilton one. So it was so funny. And I say, yeah, this community is different. And it was exactly the same for Diaz. Diaz is a community you know well also, run by Randy Zuckerberg, the sister of Mark, and she's so different than his brother. I don't want to talk about that because it's touchy, you know. Can you talk about BFF? Why this community is so amazing, why it's so different, and why they are so focused on community and on utility?
Well, to bring it back to community, remember it's 2 things: commonality of purpose and frequency of touch. Frequency of touch, they have an amazing calendar. So Britt and Jamie were 2 businesswomen who have exited their companies. Jamie Schmidt started Schmidt's Naturals, a deodorant brand, from her kitchen and sold it to Unilever for 9 figures without ever taking an investment dollar.
Oh, wow.
So these are women who know how to run businesses. So content calendars, programming, they've got that. What was really unique about BFF was the mission. And the mission is to educate women and non-binary people into Web3. You believe in it, you're in. You're not into it, that's okay too. But everyone who joined believes in that purpose.
Join this community now, not tomorrow, not in 10 days.
Right. And it's not that floor prices don't matter, right? But these 2 entrepreneurs, when we had our first initial broadcast was on Zoom because we couldn't do it in Discord. It was 25,000 people watching on video. And each one of the founding members took a different thing to define, and we explained in layperson's terms what that term in Web3 meant. And then out of those 25,000 people, 7,000 were randomly selected to receive a free airdrop of a bracelet. Then the 100 founding members, we each got our bracelet, and we each got a second one, and that was to gift. You can't sell, you can't keep, gift it to someone you believe in. So mine actually went to Paris, which is how she ended up in the community.
Amazing.
And the entire, that floor price I think got up to 0.8. It was a free NFT, and the two founders covered the gas prices. They paid $1 million out of pocket to mint 7,000 NFTs, because that's how much we believe in the future. Each one of the founding 100 members, and yes, you mentioned it's Paris, it's Gwyneth Paltrow, Tyra Banks, Mila Kunis, but also Ariel Wengroff from Ledger and the Ledger teams here, Unstoppable Domains. Like, so many amazing Web3 companies have all signed up, and we all give. None of us take a single dollar. We give our time, we give our resources, we give our network. Because if you want Web3 to be diverse, which I think it makes it better, you have to put in the work, put your money where your mouth is. And if you don't do it because it's the right thing to do it out of self-preservation, because if all we do is sell NFTs to ourselves, this whole thing's gonna implode. Without mass adoption, without this actually being a currency, without it being asset exchange and ownership, this whole thing just becomes a fun little game.
Yeah, and I would like to thank the BFF community, because we did a Twitter space 2 days ago with the Black Paris team, and it was, to be honest, the best Twitter space I ever attended. And I attended 3 Twitter space a week. Thomas can say it. And he said I'm too crazy because I'm in Twitter space like 20 hours a day. No, I exaggerate, but you know. So, Carlos.
Yeah.
You're still here. I would like to talk about your amazing podcast first, and your amazing platform who helped podcasts to enter the NFT and Web3 space. Can you explain a little bit what's going on in this amazing thing and why you are doing that? And I'm pretty sure it's not your last move.
I hope it's my last move. I just need, 50 million more, and that's okay, I can retire. Yeah, no, but I'm a podcaster, like you said. I've got this podcast, Silicon Carne. I know that there is people from my community in the room, with you today. Please raise your hand, amigos. Please show us that you're here. And yes, I have this podcast, and as a podcaster, I always been very frustrated because I don't know my audience. I don't know who is listening. I don't have any clue. I know I have some numbers. This platform gave me numbers, every month on how many downloads did I have, with Silicon Carne, and Silicon Carne is doing very well. There's something like 20,000 downloads a month or something like that, which is great. But who are these people? I don't know who are these people. I have no way with a podcast to create a community around, my content. It's a very one-way street. Podcast is a one-way street. So I had this frustration, and I thought to myself that maybe Web3 can help, with that. So what I started to do with Silicon Carne, I started minting NFTs for my community and say to them, so the first NFT I did was I minted, the first 2 minutes of the very first episode. That was 4 years ago. And I said to my audience, I said that on my podcast, listen, now you can become the owner. I minted, 80 copies of these first 2 minutes of the show. Now you can become the owner of the first 2 minutes of the very first episode. And my community reacted right away. I sold out, these 2 first minutes.
It was crazy.
Just a few hours. Yeah. And I started to think to myself, wow, that's interesting. Now, and because I did that, with my platform and Cut.fm, and every time I was selling, these NFTs, I started to connect, with these people. So these first 80 people, then I started to mint, more and more content. I finally decided to mint every single one of my episodes. Of course, you can listen to my episode everywhere. You don't need to have the NFT to listen to the episode. But now you can own, the episode. I created a role, inside my community that I call the official guardians. So you can become the official guardian of one of my episodes. And if you buy the NFT, the episode of this podcast is going to be minted, but also stored on our web eternally because you bought the NFT. So then I started to see my community buying, every single one of my episodes, even if they didn't need, to buy NFT, to listen to my content. And I thought that was interesting. And I did more and more of that. And in the last 4 months, I minted something like 250 NFTs all sold out. I was really pissed, because I was hearing that NFTs is shit, so I decided to mint a piece of shit, as an NFT, and I made a very nice, 3D movie, around a piece of shit, and I sold out, this piece of shit, in 3 minutes and 17 seconds, for $500. So what is very interesting with these NFTs is that I think they are artifact of a subculture. So NFTs are not meant, for your audience. They're not meant, for my listeners. They're meant, for my fans, for the people who really care about me, that want to be part of my community and interact, with me. So now with Uncut.fm, I'm not only able, to mint every single piece of content I'm doing as an NFT, but I can provide also utilities. So my NFTs are a little bit like membership cards, so they get access to an NFT gated space on Uncut.fm where they can interact, with me, but also with the rest of the listeners. Because think about that, when you're listening to a podcast, you not only want to have access to the creator, but you also want to have access to the other listeners. Because if we are all listening to the same podcast, it's because we have a shared interest. We have a common purpose. And there is no way, to do that, right now with Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever. So thanks to this NFT, they act like access cards. And now, my community can interact not only with me, but with each other. And we have a WhatsApp group, we have an NFT gated space, a Discord, and they are very active and everybody's talking. And by the way, what is very interesting is that they're not very interested in interacting with me. They're more interested in interacting with each other, which is great, by the way. I think what is very, very interesting with Web3 is that we see that there is some sort of a centralization of the community in one space to decentralize, the power. Okay, what is very interesting, we centralize, people, where people, in podcasting were very decentralized. People were listening to my podcast from everywhere, and the community was not bound together. But now with NFTs, they come together, so the community is centralized, but the power is getting decentralized. Now, what I'm going to do, next is very interesting, and I think that I've been listening to the other panels, for the last 2 hours, and I think we really need to explain, something very important, because a lot of these things, you can do that, with Web2. We didn't wait, for Web3 to create community and manage communities, but the big difference is ownership. And what I'm going to do, with the next season of Silicon Valley, I'm going to create 50 tokens for my community, and I'm going to share, the owners of these 50 tokens, I'm going to share 25% of the revenue of my next NFT for the next season with these 50 holders of my token. Selling, these 50 tokens upfront at the beginning of the season is going to help me maybe to gather $10,000 to $20,000 that will help me, to put together my next season. So it's some sort of a crowdfunding. But at the same time, I'm creating some sort of a cap table. So now you're part of my economy. So I think that what is very interesting with Web3, with a difference, with Web2, I'm not trying to make money from my community. I'm trying to make money with my community. And for the next, NFTs I'm going to do, for the next season of Silicon Valley, so 25% of the next revenue is going to share, with these 50 people. But I'm also creating a charity wallet, and 10% of the revenue of my next NFT is going to go into this charity wallet. And me and the 50 funding members are going to decide how we're going to use, this 10% we are collecting, during the next season. And we'll give this money, maybe to BFF or whatever, it doesn't matter. We decide that as a community. And I'm also creating a community wallet with 30% of the revenue. So basically, I'm sharing 80% of my revenue of the next season with my community. And what is very interesting here that I think is that we are moving from audience to community, but that's not the final step. The final step is really to move your community into an organization, what is very different. So basically, how do you transform your audience into a community, a group of people that you can interact, with common interest? But the next step, and that's what the Web3 is about, is about turning your community into an organization. It's a community around a balance sheet with a common interest and even a financial interest. And that goes back to the conversation we had at the very beginning, Swan. Yes, this financial interest is very important, because now we are acting like an organization. I said to my community, what do you want to do with all this money? Because I plan in doing, something like $50,000 in the next year. I'm going to give you back, 80% of that. So what are you going to do, with this money? My community said, we want to create a food truck, a Silicon Valley food truck in Paris, okay, to sell tacos, to everybody in Paris. And we need $25,000, to create this food truck. And with this money, we're going to do, with your NFTs, we're going to create, these NFTs. And guess what? Now my community is asking me to do more NFTs, to sell them at a higher price, because they want to make this money to make this project real. That's what Web3 is about. It's really about creating an economy where it's not only you deciding, it's not just money, for you. It's money, for your community, and you get to decide with your community what to do with this money.
Thank you, Carlos. We need you for something, I think. I think we need to create a podcast, Thomas, in their platform with BFF. Maybe we can talk with Christine and Swan. What do you think about it?
Easy. Come on over.
Let's do it. It's Web3,
Whenever you want.
Collaboration is amazing, and it's all about. So this is a real community, They share things, real things. They try to give as much as they can as a community. In Black Paris, we tried the same. We really want to create something important. Let me give you an example, and prepare your question, guys. If you have one, give your hand. No, nobody's? Okay, no worry. Okay, you will have one. Thank you. Prepare that. Because we are, 5 or 10 minutes. Sorry. What can I say is that I think that we are in a moment now where we really need to understand what we can do as a community, what we can do for sure. In Black Paris, for example, we are trying to build something. I remember a problem we have 2 months ago. Thomas, remember that. We have a Chinese community because Black Paris has shops in China, in Asia, and in Arabic countries. We just have our first, it's Black Paris, and we have our first European shops just recently in Marbella. We didn't have any shops in Paris, for example. We just have an e-commerce, and it works pretty well. Thank you, God. So it was funny because the Chinese community said in the Discord, and by the way, I have a touchy subject. Discord is bullshit. We all know that. But we use
Discord is Web 2.
Yeah.
Discord has nothing to do with Web 2.
You're right.
And Discord, works only because Slack has a poor, business model. So they're charging for users, and that's why Discord is so successful.
It's not just Web 2; it's Web 2 for developers. So if you're
gamers.
not technical,
absolutely,
it's really
absolutely.
hard.
For nerds,
Terrible.
for sure. And I love gamers. It's not the problem, but it's not for NFTs. It's a financial thing. We need something secured, really secured, and something so much easier. How can you explain to a grandmother that they will need to use Discord? Are you fucking serious? It's impossible. So we need to find out a solution. So let me go back to my story very quickly because we run out of time. We have a huge Chinese community because our brand is well known, because we already did close. A lot of NFT communities, NFT projects told you that they will do merchandise one day. We do merchandise before NFTs, so we can already send to you the clothes, We already done that. And the Chinese said, we don't want to speak English. We don't fucking care of English. We don't want to speak French. We don't fucking care of French. We are 1.5 billion, so you will talk in Chinese. And if you don't, bye-bye. Okay? They are the king of the world. They are, okay? The Chinese are the king of the world now.
That's what I call, the centralization and decentralization of power. So right. You centralize your community in one space, and now they're taking the power. That's exactly. The situation.
And we need to find out the best guy who can speak Chinese, French a bit, and English. And you can, it's hard, and you can know the Black Paris and the Black Paris NFTs. And we found out one. And now the Chinese community is amazing because I Google translated because my Chinese is very bad. Ni hao, fa guozhen, and that's it, So I'm fucking bad. Sorry for the F word. So we find out this guy, and it works pretty well. And now we need to do the same for Russian. We need to do the same for Thailand. We need to do the same for everybody. So it's hard, but It's cool. So if you have a question, maybe it can be, do you want to add something?
I want to ask the audience, how many are builders or might want to be builders in Web3?
Raise your hand.
All right, there's a couple of hands. So I want to highlight
Builders.
one point that Carlos brought up and that Rémy just added to. So you need, yes, when you decentralize power, you give power to the community. But it has to be a balance. You need visionaries and builders because Henry Ford, the inventor of the automobile, said if all he did was listen to what people wanted, they would have said faster horses. They never would have said a car. So you need both. And the thing that I liked about what Carlos said, it's funny because we're sitting here saying, you just need a small community. His NFT buyers are people who really want to interact with him. Seems hypocritical because we have pretty big communities that we talk to, but you don't need millions because it seems so hard in the beginning, right? You're looking at somebody with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm never going to get there. Let me give you one stat that changes how you think about the size of an engaged community. If you sell 25 NFTs at 0.1 ETH, you make more money than 1 million streams on Spotify.
Totally true.
25 NFTs at 0.1 makes you more money than 1 million streams. So you don't need a big community, you need a small but mighty one. So it just takes time to build. And you don't need hundreds of thousands. It's always nice to have that.
There's not too much shortcuts, to be honest.
No, but you have to just find your tribe. So when things get hard, I mean, Legion, she's a woman who was the youngest partner at the VC Andreessen Horowitz. And she has a paper, it started with 1,000 true fans, and she did the analysis and math that you don't need millions of followers, you need 1,000 true fans that truly believe in you. The latest analysis is 100. If you can monetize and build a relationship with 100 true fans.
Legion.
Yeah, Legion. So there's academic research behind it. So if you're builders now and it's a crappy market, or if you're thinking of building, you don't need millions, you need 100 to start.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, to illustrate, what Swan just said.
Very quickly, please, Carlos.
Real example.
Very quickly, please.
Excuse me? Okay. No, I had a podcaster that told me I just minted, a few NFTs and I only sold, 50 of them. And I think there is a dictatorship, from the Web 2 for having big numbers. And the reality of that is, of course, they want big numbers because their business model is based on advertising. Okay, so if you don't have big numbers, they're not selling their crappy advertising, to their users because you think that it's your user, it's their users, and they need you to have big numbers because they need CPM, to sell their advertising. The Web 1 and the audience, so basically advertising is about monetizing your audience. Okay. Subscription is about monetizing your content, okay? NFT is about monetizing your community. And like Swan is saying, you don't need a large community to monetize. With only 50 people, I was saying that, to this podcaster. Now you have a group of 50 people every day that you can tap into, ask questions, that they are real, collaborators. They really want to help you every day. Who has 50 people every day to help him or her?
Not too much.
It's a gift. I mean, it's a gift. You don't need millions of people. Millions of people who don't care about you, who care about that? So let's stop this dictatorship from the Web 2 platforms of trying to have the biggest number ever. We don't care about that anymore.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, we really need to add questions. Yeah, thank you so much, Carlos and Swan. You're amazing. I'm so glad that we are here today in Biarritz. I have a question. Yeah.
This is a question for both of you, Swan and Carlos. What's your latest NFT investment?
It's about to... oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You first.
G Money has an incredible community called Admit One, and I was lucky enough to be one of the minters of that. And one I'm about to go mint tonight, he did a collaboration with Justin Aversano of Twin Flames, and they have a drop coming out, and that's the one I'm about to put in my wallet. And I haven't minted for a little bit. I've taken a break, so this is exciting.
Carlos?
The NFT I'm most excited about, right now, I had a chance, to be part of this community, is Pool Suite. I don't know if you know Pool Suite, Swan.
Pool Suite.
Yeah, and it's amazing, what's going on, with this community, right now. So it's I bought, this NFT. I minted this NFT was $2,700, something like that. a few months ago. And what these guys are doing, it was a very secret project, with a very nice aesthetics. I think I decided to mint, this NFT because of the aesthetics of the NFT, mainly first. But they sold, 10,000 executive membership card, full suite, executive membership card. And apparently what they are doing, they are buying a manor in the Caribbean, a hotel, in the Caribbean. And of course, now I'm one of the 10,000 owners of this manor in the Caribbean, and they're going to create a DAO, of course, a decentralized autonomous organization, and you're going to get to decide what furniture do you want, in this manor, in the Caribbean. And of course, you're going to need, the NFT to book a room, in this manor. And it's a great community of people, so that's one of the NFT I'm most excited about right now.
Thank you, Carlos. We really are out of time. If you want to see mine, you go to remyb.eth and you will have information on OpenSea. I have a lot of new recent NFTs. All are women-led. Because as I said to Swan, and she knows that, I think it's super important to put your money where your mouth is. You know what I mean? So for me, it's super important to support the women and all the diverse people. Thank you so much for this amazing event. I'm so glad. I'm still doesn't believe it. So Swan, you are amazing. Thank you so much. I don't want to be emotional. I will leave this room very soon after the show. Add something very quick because we need to leave. Very quick. Two sentences. Very quick.
Thank you, Rémy, for being an incredible moderator and community builder. Back to diversity, it's not just because it's the right thing to do, it just makes this whole thing better, right? More selections for people to come in and feel passionate about. So if you learn something cool, go tell 5 people who don't look, act, or sound like you. Because when we tell people who are exactly like who we are, it stays the same.
Carlos, very quick, please, this time. Oh, yeah, it's too quick.
Yeah, sorry, I think I cut, I think is that my turn, right now?
Yeah, you're right. Can you add a very quick, because we are out of time, very quick last sentence? Thank you.
Je vais le dire en français. Merci à tous. Merci de m'avoir invité et vous me manquez vraiment, en fait, et je vous aime beaucoup. Ciao, bisous.
I was supposed to learn French, you didn't tell me.
She just said that he misses everybody here. He wants to come back to France. He knows that France is the best country in the world, for sure, for everything, for business, for wine.
Yeah, the only mistake we did is to give this country to French people. Otherwise, it's the best country in the world. Yes.
No, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. There is good French and bad French, like everybody. So thank you so much. It was amazing.
Bye-bye.
You're amazing. Thank you so much. Let's get ready to rumble for the next ones. Thank you so much.